The water stains on the off-white envelope told me more than the delicate calligraphy ever could. It had been sitting on my kitchen counter for days, glaring at me every time I passed, demanding a response I wasn't ready to give. The gold embossing caught the afternoon light, turning what should have been an ordinary invitation into something sinister. When I finally opened it, the words seemed to float off the heavy cardstock. Together with their families, Vanessa Ellis and Thomas Merritt request the honor of your presence at their wedding celebration. My sister and my ex-fiancé. The perfect couple. I ran my finger across Thomas's name, remembering how it used to feel when I would write Eliza Merritt in the margins of my notebooks. How many times had I practiced that signature? How many times had I imagined our life together? Now it would be Vanessa Merritt. The name that should have been mine. My phone vibrated against the counter, jarring me from my thoughts. Vanessa's face lit up the screen, her third call today. I let it go to voicemail, just like the others. What could she possibly say to make this right? The beep of a new message followed seconds later. Eliza, please. I know you're avoiding me, but we need to talk. I want you at the wedding. You're my sister, and it would mean everything to me. Call me back. The audacity took my breath away. She wanted me there? To watch as she married the man who had promised himself to me just 6 months ago? The man who had looked into my eyes and sworn his love was eternal, only to disappear from my life without explanation? The same man who, as it turned out, had been sleeping with my sister behind my back for months? My reflection in the kitchen window caught my attention, pale face, dark circles under my eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. I hardly recognized myself. This wasn't the Eliza Harwood who had graduated top of her class at law school. This wasn't the woman who had made partner at one of Boston's most prestigious firms before the age of 30. This was someone else entirely. Someone broken. I picked up the invitation again, studying the date, June 18th. Just over 2 weeks away. The venue was Mayfield Estate, the historic vineyard where Thomas had proposed to me last summer. I remembered the way the setting sun had painted the sky in shades of pink and gold as he dropped to one knee among the rows of grapevines. I remembered the tears in his eyes as he slipped the antique diamond onto my finger, his grandmother's ring, a family heirloom that had apparently meant nothing when he asked for it back via text message. How had I been so blind? Had they been laughing at me the whole time? My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from my mother. Vanessa says you're not returning her calls. She's beside herself, Eliza. This tension between you two has to stop before the wedding. Family comes first, remember? Family comes first. The Ellis family motto, drilled into us since childhood. It was the reason my father had cut his trip short when Vanessa broke her arm climbing the oak tree in our backyard. The reason my mother had canceled her book club whenever one of us had a school event. The reason I had spent countless weekends driving 3 hours to watch Vanessa's dance recitals, celebrating her victories while putting my own life on hold. But where was that loyalty when Vanessa decided my fiancé was fair game? I picked up my phone, my thumb hovering over Vanessa's message. Part of me wanted to call her, to scream until my throat was raw. Another part wanted to delete her number, to act as though she had never existed. Instead, I typed a short reply. I'll be there. I hit send before I could change my mind. 3 dots appeared almost immediately, followed by her response, "Thank you, Liz. You won't regret it. I love you." I stared at those last 3 words, feeling nothing but coldness spread through my chest. Love? Was that what she called it? Setting down my phone, I walked to my bedroom closet and pushed aside the heavy winter coats I hadn't yet stored away. Behind them hung a garment bag, long, black, and undisturbed for months. I unzipped it slowly, revealing the champagne-colored silk within. My wedding dress. The one I had chosen with Vanessa by my side, her eyes filled with what I had mistaken for sisterly affection as I twirled before the mirrors. "It's perfect," she had whispered, hugging me tight. "You look absolutely beautiful, Liz." Had she already been sleeping with him then? Had she already been planning to take him from me? The thought made bile rise in my throat. I zipped the bag closed and reached for the wooden box on the top shelf. Inside lay the evidence I had gathered over the past months, text messages I'd recovered from Thomas's cloud account, emails, hotel receipts, photos of them together dating back to when he and I were still happily planning our future. Each item a piece of the puzzle, each a dagger to my heart. Gathering the box in my arms, I returned to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of red wine. As the rich liquid filled the glass, a plan began to take shape in my mind. I would attend the wedding, yes. But not as the supportive sister Vanessa was hoping for. I would go to bear witness. To speak my truth. To reclaim the dignity they had stolen from me. June 18th would be a day to remember, but not for the reasons they expected. I raised my glass in a silent toast to the invitation still lying on the counter. "I'll be there," I repeated to the empty room. "And I'll have plenty to say." The days before the wedding passed in a blur of preparation and resolve. I moved through them with mechanical precision, ignoring the increasingly concerned calls from my mother and the occasional text from Vanessa checking if I needed help with accommodations or directions to the venue, as if I could ever forget the way to the place where Thomas had promised me forever. I didn't respond to any of them. My silence was deliberate, a small act of rebellion against the expectation that I would simply fall in line, play my part in their perfect day. The night before the wedding, I sat in my hotel room just outside of Mayfield, the contents of the wooden box spread across the bed. One item in particular caught my attention, a photograph taken at my engagement party. Thomas stood between Vanessa and me, his arm around my waist, his hand hidden behind Vanessa's back. The smiles on their faces now seemed so obviously complicit. A knock at the door startled me from my thoughts. "Room service," a male voice called. I hadn't ordered anything, but I gathered the evidence into the box and tucked it under the bed before opening the door. Thomas stood in the hallway, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. He looked exactly the same and completely different all at once, the same dark curls and strong jawline, but his eyes held a wariness I'd never seen before. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He shifted uncomfortably. "Can I come in?" "Just for a minute." Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. As he moved past me, his familiar cologne, the one I had given him for Christmas, brought a fresh wave of pain crashing over me. "I didn't think you'd actually come," he said, standing awkwardly in the center of the room. "I told Vanessa I would." "I know, but..." He trailed off, running a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it hurt to watch. "I know this is hard for you." A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "Hard for me? That's what you're going with?" "Eliza. What do you want, Thomas?" I cut him off, crossing my arms over my chest like armor. "Did you come to ask for my blessing? Or are you just checking to make sure I won't cause a scene?" He had the decency to look ashamed. "I wanted to make sure you're okay. I never meant for things to happen this way." "How did you mean for them to happen? Were you planning to wait until after our wedding to start sleeping with my sister? Or was that always part of the plan? His face paled. It wasn't like that. We never wanted to hurt you. And yet, here we are. I gestured between us. You know what amazes me? That you can stand there and pretend to care about my feelings when tomorrow you're marrying my sister. The same sister who helped me choose my wedding dress. The same sister who hugged me when you proposed. It just happened, Eliza. We didn't plan. Stop, I held up a hand. Just stop. Nothing just happens for months on end. Those were choices. Your choices. Hers too. He moved toward me, and I instinctively stepped back. I did love you, he said softly. Maybe not the way you deserved, but I did. Is that supposed to make me feel better? I don't know. I just needed you to know that. I studied his face, searching for any trace of the man I thought I knew. Why are you really here, Thomas? The night before your wedding? He looked away. Vanessa's worried. She thinks you're planning something. Of course. He wasn't here out of concern for me. He was here as Vanessa's emissary, to ensure her perfect day remained untainted by my presence. Tell Vanessa she has nothing to worry about, I said, moving toward the door and opening it wide. I'll be there tomorrow, just like I promised. Relief washed over his features. Thank you. That means a lot to her. As he walked past me, I caught his arm. Thomas? He turned, hope flickering in his eyes. Was she worth it? Worth throwing away everything we had? For a moment, I saw genuine pain cross his face. Then his expression hardened. I'm sorry, Eliza. I really am. It wasn't an answer, not really. But it told me everything I needed to know. After the door closed behind him, I returned to the bed and retrieved the wooden box. Among the evidence was a sealed envelope I had added just days ago, containing the words I had carefully crafted for tomorrow. I had written and rewritten them dozens of times, each version more pointed than the last. I read through them once more, feeling a strange calm settle over me. Tomorrow wasn't about vengeance, at least, not entirely. It was about truth. About refusing to be invisible in a narrative that had altered the course of my life. Whatever happened after, I would at least have that. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear, the June sky a mockery of blue perfection. I stood before the mirror in my hotel room, studying my reflection. I had chosen my outfit with precision, a fitted emerald dress that hugged every curve, highlighting the results of months spent channeling my pain into punishing gym sessions. My hair fell in loose waves around my shoulders, and my makeup was flawless, a polished armor against the day ahead. Around my neck hung a delicate gold chain with a small pearl pendant, Thomas's first gift to me. Not the most valuable piece he had given me, but perhaps the most honest, from a time before the lies began. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire, my oldest friend and the only person who knew my true intentions for today. Are you sure about this? It's not too late to back out. I typed back, I'm sure. This isn't about revenge. It's about truth. Her response came quickly, be careful, Liz. Don't let them take anything else from you. I tucked the phone into my clutch along with the folded paper containing my prepared words, took one last look in the mirror, and headed for Mayfield Estate. The vineyard was even more beautiful than I remembered. White roses and baby's breath adorned every surface, and rows of white chairs faced an elegant floral arch where Thomas would soon wait for his bride, my sister. Guests mingled on the lawn, champagne glasses in hand, their laughter carrying on the warm summer breeze. I kept to the edges of the crowd, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing server but not drinking it. I needed absolute clarity for what was to come. Eliza? Oh my God, you came. My mother's voice cut through my thoughts. She hurried toward me, elegant in a pale blue dress that complemented her silver hair. She embraced me tightly, and I allowed myself to be held, even as I remained rigid in her arms. Of course I came, I said as she pulled back to study my face. I said I would. I know, but... She trailed off, her eyes scanning me for any sign of the breakdown she clearly expected. You look beautiful, sweetheart. Thank you. Vanessa will be so relieved. She's been worried sick that you might not show. Her fingers fidgeted with her necklace, a nervous habit she'd had for as long as I could remember. She loves you, you know. This whole situation has been hard on everyone. I bit back the harsh laugh that threatened to escape. Hard on everyone? As if Vanessa and Thomas were the victims in this scenario? Where is the blushing bride? I asked instead, my tone carefully neutral. In the bridal suite, of course. She's been asking for you. Would you go see her? I hesitated. Confronting Vanessa alone wasn't part of my plan. But refusing would only raise suspicions. Of course, I said finally. I'd love to see her before the ceremony. My mother's relief was palpable. Third door on the left, upstairs in the main house. Thank you, Eliza. This means so much to all of us. As I made my way to the bridal suite, I felt an eerie sense of déjà vu. This was the same path I had taken with Vanessa last summer, giggling and tipsy after Thomas's proposal as we explored the historic mansion. The same corridor where Vanessa had hugged me and whispered, "I'm so happy for you, Liz. You deserve this." I paused outside the door, steeling myself, then knocked. "Come in." Vanessa's voice called. She stood before a full-length mirror, a vision in white lace and tulle. Her dark hair was swept up in an elegant updo, and her makeup accentuated her natural beauty, the beauty that had always made me feel like the plain sister, despite our similar features. Our eyes met in the mirror, and for a brief moment, I saw fear flash across her face. Then she turned, a brilliant smile replacing it so quickly I almost thought I'd imagined the moment of panic. "Eliza." She rushed toward me, arms outstretched. "You came. I was so worried you wouldn't." I allowed the embrace but did not return it. I said I would. She pulled back, her smile faltering slightly at my coldness. "I know, but, well, it means everything that you're here." "Really?" I gestured to her dress, forcing a smile. "You look beautiful, Van." "You do too," she said, her eyes taking in my emerald dress. "That color is stunning on you." An awkward silence fell between us. There was too much to say and no way to say it that wouldn't shatter the fragile peace of the moment. Finally, Vanessa spoke, her voice small. "I know you must hate me." "I don't hate you." The words surprised me with their honesty. Hatred required energy I no longer had to spare. What I felt was something colder, something deeper. "I just don't know you anymore." Tears filled her eyes. "Liz, please. Can we talk about this? Really talk? I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." The same words Thomas had used. As if their affair had been some unavoidable natural disaster rather than a series of deliberate choices made with full knowledge of the pain they would cause. "Today is your wedding day," I said evenly. "Let's not pretend this is about me." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "It is about you, though. You're my sister. My only sister. And I love you. What happened with Thomas, it wasn't planned. We never wanted. Stop, I cut her off. Whatever justification you've created to help you sleep at night, I don't want to hear it. Not today. Vanessa's face crumpled. So, what then? We just never speak again? You just hate me forever because I fell in love with the wrong person? The wrong person? I laughed incredulously. He was my fiancé, Vanessa. We were planning our life together. A life you were part of. A life you helped us plan. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears streaked down her cheeks, threatening to ruin her perfect makeup. If I could change how things happened, I would. But I can't change how I feel about him. A knock at the door interrupted us. 15 minutes until the ceremony, Miss Ellis, a woman's voice called. Thank you, Vanessa called back, then turned to me again, wiping her tears carefully. Will you stay? Please? I know it's asking a lot, but having you here, it would mean everything. I looked at my sister, my only sister, and felt a sudden, overwhelming exhaustion. All the anger, all the pain, all the carefully crafted words I had prepared, what would they really change? Thomas had made his choice. Vanessa had made hers. And I was left to make mine. I'll be there, I said quietly. I promised, didn't I? Relief washed over her face. Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much. She hugged me again, and this time, I let my arms rise to return the embrace, however stiffly. As I left the bridal suite, my hand drifted to the folded paper in my clutch. My statement. My truth. The words I had planned to speak when the officiant asked if anyone had reason to object to this union. Could I still do it? Could I stand up in front of everyone and expose the betrayal that had brought us to this day? The weight of the paper seemed to grow heavier with each step I took. The ceremony was set to begin. Guests filed into their seats, murmuring in appreciation at the beauty of the setting. I took my place near the back, ignoring the curious glances and whispered questions about why the sister of the bride wasn't part of the wedding party. Thomas stood at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, flanked by groomsmen I recognized from our shared social circle. Men who had been meant to stand beside him at our wedding. Men who had apparently seen no issue with his betrayal. The music changed, signaling the start of the procession. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle one by one, each in a soft blush gown that I knew Vanessa had chosen, the same color palette I had planned for my own wedding party. Then the wedding march began, and everyone rose. Vanessa appeared at the end of the aisle on our father's arm, radiant in her gown. Dad looked proud, his eyes glistening with tears as he prepared to give away his youngest daughter, just as he had been prepared to give me away 6 months ago. As they passed my row, Dad's eyes met mine briefly. There was a question there, a concern. I gave him a small nod, and relief flashed across his face before he continued toward the altar. The officiant began the ceremony with words about love, commitment, and the sacred bond of marriage, words that now seemed hollow in the face of how this particular union had come to be. Marriage is not to be entered into lightly, the officiant intoned, but reverently and soberly. I almost laughed at the irony. Reverent and sober were the last words I would use to describe the relationship that had begun in deceit and betrayal. If anyone present knows of any reason why this couple should not be joined in matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. The traditional words hung in the air. This was the moment I had planned for. The moment when I would stand, unfold the paper in my clutch, and read the words I had so carefully prepared. Words that would expose the truth. Words that would ensure no one present could pretend this was a celebration rather than the culmination of betrayal. My hand moved to my clutch. Then Vanessa turned slightly, her eyes finding mine in the crowd. There was fear there, yes, but also something else, a plea, perhaps. Or resignation. I thought of all the years we had shared as sisters. The whispered secrets, the shared laughter, the bond that had seemed unbreakable until Thomas came between us. I thought of the pain that had consumed me these past months, the way it had hollowed me out until I barely recognized myself. Would speaking now change anything? Would it heal my broken heart or simply create new wounds? The moment stretched, the silence growing heavier. And then, surprising myself, I stood. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Thomas's face paled. Vanessa's eyes widened in horror. "I have something to say," I said, my voice carrying across the hushed vineyard. The officiant looked uncertain. "Ma'am, if you have an objection." "I do," I said, but instead of reaching for the paper in my clutch, I spoke from the heart. "I object not to this union, but to the lie that surrounds it." I stepped into the aisle, feeling all eyes on me. Many of you know me as Vanessa's sister. What you may not know is that 6 months ago, I was engaged to the man standing at that altar. The man who is now marrying my sister. Shocked murmurs spread through the crowd. For months, I've carried this pain alone. For months, I've let their narrative, that they simply fell in love, stand unchallenged. I came here today planning to expose every detail of their betrayal. To make sure everyone knew exactly how this love story truly began. I walked slowly toward the altar, watching Thomas's face grow increasingly ashen. But standing here now, I realize something. The truth isn't just about their betrayal. It's also about me. About what I choose to carry forward from this day. I turned to face the guests, many of whom were watching with expressions ranging from horror to morbid fascination. The truth is, Vanessa and Thomas betrayed me in the worst possible way. They lied, they sneaked around, they disrespected me and the love I thought we shared. And for a long time, that betrayal defined me. It consumed me. My eyes found Claire in the crowd, her face a mixture of concern and support. Then my parents, my mother's horror, my father's sad resignation. But today, I'm making a different choice. Today, I choose to release myself from their story. I choose to reclaim my own. I turned back to face the altar, my eyes meeting first Thomas's, then Vanessa's. "I won't pretend what you did was okay. It wasn't. It never will be. But I won't let your choices define the rest of my life either. So yes, I object, not to your marriage, but to the power I've given your betrayal over my life." I took a deep breath, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "Vanessa, you're my sister. That will never change, no matter what stands between us. And Thomas. I once believed you were the love of my life. I was wrong. You're just a chapter in my story, not the whole book." Tears streamed down Vanessa's face. Thomas stood frozen, his expression unreadable. "So go ahead. Get married. Build your life together. But know this, when you both go to sleep tonight, and for many nights after, you'll do so knowing the foundation of your relationship is built on betrayal and lies. That's your burden to bear, not mine. Not anymore." With those words, I turned and walked back down the aisle, head held high. The silence that followed me was deafening. Outside, in the bright June sunshine, I took my first full breath in months. My hands trembled, but not with anger or pain. With release. Claire found me there, her eyes wide. "Eliza, that was I don't even have words. Are you okay? Was I okay? For the first time in 6 months, I thought perhaps I was, or at least I would be. I'm better than okay, I said, surprising myself with the truth of it. I'm free. Behind us, murmurs from the ceremony indicated it was proceeding, despite my interruption. Of course it was. Vanessa had always been skilled at pushing forward, regardless of the circumstances. And Thomas, well, Thomas had made his choice. As Claire and I walked toward the parking area, I felt my phone buzz in my clutch. It was a text from my mother, "Please wait for us. We need to talk." I showed it to Claire, who raised an eyebrow. "What do you want to do?" I considered the question, thinking about the family that had raised me. The sister who had betrayed me. The life I was now free to build without the shadow of their betrayal hanging over me. I said slowly, "I'm ready to talk. Really talk. Not just about today, but about everything." Claire nodded, understanding. "I'll be right here if you need me." We found a shaded bench overlooking the vineyard and waited. In the distance, I could see guests beginning to exit the ceremony area. Whether the wedding had proceeded as planned or not, I didn't know. And for the first time, I realized I didn't particularly care. My parents approached, their faces a study in conflicting emotions. My mother looked torn between anger and concern, while my father's expression was one of quiet sadness. "Eliza," Mom began, her voice strained. "What you did in there was long overdue," I finished for her. "I know you're upset, Mom. But I needed to speak my truth." "Your truth," she repeated incredulously. "You nearly ruined your sister's wedding." Dad placed a calming hand on her arm. "Margaret, please. Eliza's been through enough." "We've all been through enough," Mom snapped. "But disrupting a wedding ceremony? In front of everyone? What were you thinking?" I met her gaze steadily. I was thinking that for once, I would refuse to be silenced. To pretend that what Vanessa and Thomas did was okay. It wasn't. And I needed to say that, not just for me, but for all of us. "You could have discussed this privately, instead of creating a public spectacle," Mom insisted. I shook my head. "Their betrayal wasn't private, Mom. The pain they caused wasn't private. Why should my response be?" "Because we're family," she said, the familiar refrain making my heart ache. "Family comes first, remember?" "Does it?" I looked between them. Because from where I'm standing, it seems like Vanessa's happiness came first. Her wants. Her desires. Even when they came at my expense. My father stepped forward, his voice gentle. "Lizzie, we never wanted any of this to happen." When Vanessa told us about her feelings for Thomas, we were horrified. We tried to talk her out of it, to make her see what she was risking. "But you knew?" The revelation hit me like a physical blow. "You knew about them before Thomas broke off our engagement?" The guilty look they exchanged told me everything. "They came to us together," Dad admitted. "About a month before, well, before everything fell apart. They wanted our blessing." I felt as though the ground had dropped out from beneath me. "And did you give it to them?" "No," Mom said quickly. "Of course not. We told them they needed to be honest with you first. That they needed to end things properly before they could expect any kind of acceptance from us. But after they did," Dad continued, his voice heavy with regret, "after Thomas broke things off with you, we felt we had to support Vanessa's choice. Even if we didn't agree with how it happened." "Support her choice," I repeated, the words bitter on my tongue. By attending her wedding to the man who was supposed to marry me? By embracing her relationship that began in betrayal? By expecting me to just, what? Pretend none of it happened? No one expected that, Mom insisted. We just hoped that with time. Time? I laughed incredulously. It's been 6 months, Mom. 6 months since I discovered the two people I trusted most had been lying to my face, betraying me behind my back. 6 months of you calling me, telling me I needed to move past this for the sake of the family. For Vanessa's sake. The tears I had held at bay throughout the ceremony finally spilled over. But who was thinking of me? Who was protecting me in all of this? Claire moved to my side, slipping an arm around my waist in silent support. My father's eyes filled with tears of his own. We failed you, Lizzie. I see that now. We were so focused on keeping the peace, on trying to hold the family together, that we didn't see how much you were hurting. I was drowning, I said softly. And it felt like everyone, including my own family, was holding me under. My mother's face crumpled. Oh, Eliza. I never meant. I just wanted everyone to be happy. Even if my happiness was the price? She had no answer for that. In the silence that followed, I made a decision, one that had been forming for months without me fully realizing it. I think I need some time away, I said finally. From all of this. From the family. What do you mean? Mom asked, alarm clear in her voice. I mean, I need space to heal. To figure out who I am outside of this pain. Outside of being Vanessa's sister or Thomas's ex-fiancé. But where will you go? Dad asked. I've been offered a position with the London office, I revealed. I was going to turn it down, but I think I need a fresh start. Somewhere new. Somewhere I can build a life that isn't shadowed by everything that's happened here. London? Mom repeated, aghast. But that's so far away. And for how long? I don't know, I admitted. As long as it takes, I guess. My father nodded slowly, understanding in his eyes even as sadness creased his brow. If that's what you need, Lizzie, then we'll support you. Right, Margaret? My mother didn't respond immediately, her eyes filled with tears. I don't want to lose you, she said finally. Not like this. You're not losing me, Mom, I assured her. I'm not disappearing forever. I just need some time and space to heal. To build a life that's truly mine. And Vanessa? The question hung in the air between us. Could my relationship with my sister ever be repaired? Did I even want it to be? I don't know, I answered honestly. Maybe someday, we'll find a way forward. But not now. Not yet. My mother nodded, resignation finally settling over her features. I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. In the distance, I could see the wedding guests moving toward the reception area. The celebration continuing despite the drama that had unfolded. I should go, I said, gathering my clutch. Claire, would you mind driving me back to the hotel? Of course not, she replied, squeezing my hand. I turned to my parents, feeling a strange mix of sorrow and relief. I'll call you before I leave for London. We can have dinner or something. We'd like that, Dad said, pulling me into a tight embrace. And Lizzie? I'm proud of you. For speaking your truth. For finding your way through this. My mother hugged me next, her arms holding me with a desperation that made my heart ache. I love you, she whispered. No matter what. I love you too, Mom, I replied, meaning it despite everything. As Claire and I walked away, I felt lighter than I had in months. The pain wasn't gone, I knew it would linger for a long time yet. But it no longer defined me. No longer controlled me. Whatever came next, London, a new career, perhaps even new love someday, I would face it on my own terms. Not as a victim of betrayal, but as a woman who had found the strength to reclaim her own story. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of my London flat, watching the city lights twinkle as dusk settled over the Thames. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the promise of the coming winter, but I felt warm, content in a way I hadn't been in a very long time. My phone buzzed on the small iron table beside me. Claire's face lit up the screen, her weekly check-in, as reliable as the tides. "How's my favorite expatriate?" she greeted me, her voice warm even through the digital connection. "Living the dream," I replied, smiling into the phone. "Just finished a major case." The partners were impressed, apparently. "Of course they were," Claire said matter-of-factly. "You're brilliant." I laughed, taking a sip of my wine. "How are things back home?" There was a slight hesitation before she answered. "Good. Busy. The usual." "Claire," I said, recognizing the evasion in her tone. "What aren't you telling me?" She sighed. "I ran into Thomas yesterday." My hand tightened around the wine glass, but the familiar spike of pain I expected didn't come. Just a dull ache, like pressing on an old bruise. "And?" I prompted when she didn't continue. "And, he asked about you. How you were doing in London." I shook my head, smiling without humor. "Of course he did." "I told him you were thriving," Claire said, a note of fierce pride in her voice. "That you were taking London by storm." He looked. "I don't know. Sad, maybe. Regretful." "Good," I said, not bothering to hide the satisfaction in my tone. "He should be." "Eliza," Claire's voice softened. "There's something else." I braced myself, sensing what was coming. "Vanessa?" "Yeah." Claire hesitated again. "The divorce papers were filed last week." I closed my eyes, absorbing the news. Part of me had been expecting this. Relationships built on betrayal rarely lasted, but it still sent a complicated ripple of emotions through me. Relief, vindication, and unexpectedly, a soft pang of sadness for my sister. "Are you okay?" Claire asked, her voice gentle across the distance. "Yes," I replied, realizing with quiet certainty that I was. Their story was never about me. I'm writing my own now. I gazed out at London's glittering skyline, thinking of the life I'd carved here, the challenging cases, my growing reputation at the firm, the small circle of friends who knew nothing of my past drama. The freedom of reinvention. "She called me yesterday," I admitted. "Vanessa." I let it go to voicemail. "And?" "She wants to see me when I'm home for Christmas. Says she has things to say." Claire remained silent, allowing me space to navigate this crossroads. "I think I'll meet her," I decided. Not for her, but for me. To close that chapter properly. The Thames reflected the city lights below, a ribbon of liquid gold. 6 months ago, I'd stood before a wedding congregation and reclaimed my voice. Now, an ocean away, I was finally reclaiming my peace. "You know what's strange?" I said, watching a boat glide beneath Tower Bridge. Standing up at that wedding was the hardest thing I've ever done, and the most liberating. "That's the thing about truth," Claire replied. "It costs everything and sets you free at the same time." I smiled into the darkening sky, raising my glass in a silent toast to the woman I'd become, stronger at the broken places, newly sovereign over my own narrative. To new chapters, I said. To new chapters, Claire echoed.